Hello, everybody.
Hi,
This
Dr.
is.
Mofo.
I'm trying to sound douchey like I was wanted. This is the special edition EBL podcast because, for one thing, we have the biggest audience of all time, but it's also around the horn. You know how the article we always used to do. Instead, this time it's going to be in podcast form. And with us today is podcast regulars Hajj,
Yeah, that's me.
Tyler,
That's me.
Jerry,
That's someone else.
and newcomer to the podcast, Thug.
What up, everybody?
So this is going to be a little bit different from the format that Around the Horn does, but it's going to be oddly the same too, if that makes any sense.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Similarly different, right?
Yeah.
The first part, it's going to be like if you've watched Around the Horn, you know how it works, and it's going to be the first part is going to be the longest part, and that's going to be longer than the show goes, but the rest of it's basically exactly the same. So, and we rolled for the order here, so. Doug is going first, and there are 5 questions to the first segment, and after each question, I will award points based on, this is the criteria for the first part, quality of the argument, banter, statistics, backing up information presented, and knowledge of subject matter. So,
I'm best in show.
yes, so you guys better bring your A games here, because I'm going to be harsh with grading.
This feels like
I'm
high
gonna be
school.
Jeez.
I'm going to be like Max Kellerman grading instead of Reality, who gets like 100 points per show.
Well, there goes my plan.
First,
I was just going to answer every question if Mofo is great, but I guess I'll have to do something else now.
Yeah, sucking up does help a little bit, I guess. Anyway, the first question, like I said, this goes to Thug first. It starts off basically where we picked up from last year. Question number 1. Who is the biggest threat to the Thunder repeating as EBO champions? Thug, what do you have to say to that?
Okay, I thought long and hard about this, and I mean for 5 minutes before we were waiting for everyone to start. So
Yes.
I really think that the biggest threat to the Thunder this year repeating would have to be Dubs Dallas Mavericks. That's my pick. And the reason I'm going with the Mavericks instead of many other great contenders like the Pacers, Hodges Wizards, and the Grizzlies, but really I think the Mavericks have figured it out this year. I think they made a great trade to pick up Sun Ma. And Lorenzo Clay, I know his TC had people concerned, but he's never had great ratings, but he's always put up the stats. And I think C+ handling, we all know from Gary Hamilton that a C+ in handling isn't a death sentence as everyone thinks it is. So you got Lorenzo Clay at point guard. He's experienced, a proven winner. Singley I like as a shooting guard. He was a great defender at small forward. I think that should translate over. Bauer is Bauer. Sunma and Larry McDowell, I actually have always thought he would be a better center than power forward because his handling's not great and his defense stays at A. I think it's got a great bench. I really do think this team has everything that you're looking for to take on a well-balanced team like the Thunder. They're solid on defense 1 through 5, and they have a bunch of people who can score in bunches. So, and they have proven winners. So I'm gonna have to go with the Mavericks as the biggest challengers.
All right, Tyler, you're up.
I thought pretty hard about this, and I tried to come up with a few different answers. One of them was the Mavericks, but I'm going to shy away from that one now for obvious reasons. And I think I'm going to take a shot out of left field here, and I think I'm actually going to go with Hodges Wizards on this one. Because for some reason, I didn't like them last year, and even though nothing is different this year, just the way they performed last year and some of the runs that they made and the way they played together as a team really kind of had me change my mind about the way this team was built. Hodge has done a really good job of finding not only pieces that are good, but finding pieces that work together. I mean, you've got Christopher Lloyd, Mark Clinton, Tim Ashford. All 3 are really good defenders. Clinton's a little bit lesser, but I think he gets a little bit more slack just because of his B+ rating than he actually should. I've never seen any evidence to show that he's a poor defender. He's been on good defensive teams throughout his career. And the scoring, any one of their 3 guys, I know Tim Ashford isn't an elite level scorer, but he can take a game over sometimes when someone else is down or when they need someone to pick up the slack. And I think between the defense with Darius Stock, who is one of the most unappreciated defenders in the league, I really just truly love Darius Stock. And then you have Klaus Cole, who stepped up a little bit last season, with Ralph Higa and Ernest Fowler off the bench. And you got good other bench pieces elsewhere. Lorenzo Ruiz, Angel Dodi, and I think if Hajj really wanted to, he could move Ruiz for another piece elsewhere, maybe a backup center, a backup power forward, and just something that could really lift this team up to higher levels. I just really like the way this team is built, because we're looking at it, you don't see that one superstar, but you see more of a team-based defensive-minded effort. It kind of reminds me more of the way the Pistons were built. And I know the Pistons had Scott Duncan, so it's kind of a shady comparison, but with Stock being a lot like Elam to me, and Clinton being a high-profile scorer, I really think this team has a good chance to run the East and take over as the Finals champions this year.
All right, Hajj, follow up on that.
Well, I agree completely with Tyler. That's obviously what's going to happen. No, actually, I came up with my answer, and this is going to sound really like now I'm sucking up back, but I actually picked Sacramento as a team that I think is a threat to the Thunder. I love the way that this team has been built now, and I think the biggest thing for me is having Freeman and Wire as really good inside scorers. And I think that while Marshall is obviously really good, I feel like Sutherland might be like a little weaker this year. Like their depth is also not really as good up front, so I feel like that's an advantage the Kings can take. Also, they have plenty of scoring when they've got Break, Freeman, and Wire alone. That's a lot of scoring. But also Whitehurst is like a very underrated distributor in his ability to pass. He doesn't turn it over a lot. And I feel like also their rebounding is a really big factor, and they'll be able to out-rebound a lot of teams, and that could make a big difference in a game. And I think Whitehurst and Break are very good, efficient outside shooters. They have like I said, two good inside shooters with Freeman, who's also a good anchor on defense to have at center. I mean, every team he goes to, the defense just gets better. And, the defenders aren't really, pushovers for the rest of the Kings. So I feel like as a matchup, that's why I would pick the Kings, probably as the team most likely to threaten the Thunder. I don't know if they'll win a title, but I feel like against Oklahoma City head-to-head, they're a harder matchup than most other teams that OKC could be facing because of their inside presence.
All right, Jerry?
Hodge and I planned that out. Just so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jerry?
They planned to do, yeah. Well, I don't know if you noticed, but Polo's back in the league, and he has a really good team.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Who cares about Polo?
Well, apparently the Thunder are going to have to, because I think that's going to be my choice. They have a whole bunch of talent. They have Skalski, who really great now because of his TC. You have Henry Moore, who's probably going to be one of the best point guards in the league. You have Paulino. You have a bunch of great bigs on either starting or on the bench. You have Anthony Jones, who I think is going to be really good at small forward. Plus, you have the Polar factor. I mean, Polo usually does really great, and I think he's going to do really great this year as well.
All right, Thug, do you have any follow-up comments to what any of these three had to say?
Oh my God, do I have follow-up comments? I mean,
right.
I think, sorry to interrupt the circle jerk between Hajj and Tyler there, but I mean, the Wizards, yeah, it's a nice team. They're trotting out the same team again. I know I usually give Hajj some credit for having the consistency to see it through, but I mean, you've got, I think, pretty big holes on all the three teams that they mentioned, and coincidentally, all three of those holes are in the power forward area. I mean, honestly, I think these guys, none of them are going to stand a chance against the Thunder, and especially I think if you look at the Knicks, I don't know who they're thinking of starting at power forward there, because Herron is a shadow of the way he used to be. Skalski is still very unproven. I think all of these teams have very good perimeter games, but especially the Wizards and the Knicks. But really, I think they're not going to be able to cut against the balanced attack that Baldwin usually brings.
I think Wire is a pretty proven scorer, and Freeman. I think they're both very good inside scorers, personally. I mean, they've consistently, especially Freeman, his whole career, he's gotten at least he's an 18-11 automatic from the center position.
I will say the Kings have a better front line than most. That's true.
Although I will say, Hodge is pointing out that Sutherland might not be able to cut it this year, that if you look at our precious EBL forums, the Thunder did just make a trade with the Trailblazers for Mars Johnson, so that could that could affect it a little bit.
Well, that changes my entire plan. I didn't know these things. No. But
I don't think it's a huge move. But Jerry, I'll give you the last word. What do you have to say?
Well, I think all these are good ideas, but I still think the Knicks are the best of the bunch, and I think Tyler Hearn's going to stay. He's going to get at least 10 rebounds a game, and I think that's all he's going to need.
Fair point. All right. So after one question, the scoring is Doug leads with 6 points. Tyler has 5 points. Hajj gets 4 points, and Jerry gets 3 points. So that's the scoring after one question.
I should have picked Washington.
I didn't have to look at the schedule.
Yeah.
All right. So question 2, and this goes to Tyler first off.
Oh, why am I starting? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I thought
because
that was...
that.
Oh, we're doing it
so,
rotationally.
Yeah.
I'll cut it
rotationally.
out. I probably won't cut it out. Whatever.
All right. So the question is, what team had the most impressive offseason? Tyler?
What team had the most impressive offseason? See, with a question like this, you just got to think long and hard about it. It's one of those that you try and base an answer of, what does impressive mean to you? I'm going to go, I'm going to take a shot out of left field on this one as well, because I don't really think any team has done a substantial amount to really improve their team a lot this offseason. I think a lot of teams have kind of played it safe, and not too many big moves have really been made. Matter of fact, if we really had... I'm going to go with... you know what? Fuck it. I can't think of absolutely anyone. I tried to prepare for this question. I really did, but I can't. I'm going to go with the Mavericks. And I'm going to cut... No, I'm not going to cut anything out. I'm going to let people listen to my stupidity. I'm going to go with the Dallas Mavericks on this one. Like Doug alluded to earlier, trading for Scott Singley was a very underrated move that they made. But also, I think one of the more underrated pieces that they got from that trade was Aaron Harrison. I mean, keep in mind, Aaron Harrison won playoff MVP, just 2-3 seasons ago? And Dub really lacked a good bench piece last year. I mean... he has guys like Bernard Ramos and, whatever. But I think Aaron Harrison, you can slot him in at small forward, you can slot him in at shooting guard, you can slot him in at point guard, and he becomes that great sixth man. And his defense has been proven over a while that he's a really good defender. And I think he had a positive training camp. He looks at least better than he did last season. He's got great outside shooting. And I really like just the moves that they made, because after Dub traded Brian Freeman last season, it really showed that he was really lacking in the big man department. Greg Gray was not ready to be a starter, and it's good that he addressed that, and it's good that he found a replacement for that. McDowell at center should work out great, and Greg Gray gets to go back to his natural position of backup center and power forward, where he played really great for the Mavericks during their title run. And I think of all the teams that really needed to address a position concern, Dallas getting their starting power forward and their backup six man, and also moving Roser, who clearly didn't work out there, putting him and Bauer together was just a terrible decision. But it was one of those things where you had to see it to find out. But it didn't work out for Dub. He addressed it immediately, and I think his team got much better for it for the short term and the long term.
All right, Hajj, same question to you. What do you think of the best offseason?
I'm actually going to go on the other side of that deal, and I actually think that the Pacers had a very impressive offseason. I think adding Roser, obviously it goes without saying, is going to be great for them. I mean, he's a proven top 5 scorer every year, and they kind of lacked like a really high-end scorer like that, which they've addressed. But also, I think an underrated. There's the underrated moves that made a big difference too. Al Horford. I know most people aren't a big fan of Al Horford, obviously.
Hold on.
Or
Al Horford's been retired for many years.
Well, his son is actually in the league. Tony Horford, whatever his name is, Edgar Horford. Yeah. I feel like he's underrated. He's a good defender. He's fine as a non-option for his offense, and also an underrated part is his rebounding. He's a very good rebounder, which I think is a big factor. Getting Luis Montanez for almost nothing, and right now he looks easily like he should at least be a starter at power forward. Putting him next to Elin, if his A+ is even like close to that level of defense, I mean that's like one of the probably the best defensive big man pairing in the league, and I think that's huge because that can really help cover up for Luis Rogers' shortcomings on defense. And I think, just those three pieces alone, I mean, he improves his defense, which was already one of the top defenses in the league. He adds a top 5 scorer in Roser to replace Singley's offense. And what else was I going to say? And he adds Holford, who actually helps with the rebounding, which was also a little bit questionable, but it'll help a lot more this year having Holford there as a rebounder. So I think the Pacers just... it feels like they just improved without changing what they had success last year with.
All right, Jerry?
To me, right after Hajj got off of Tyler, I'm going to get right back on him because I think the Kings had a really good offseason.
I got room, guys. Don't worry about it.
It's a big lap, so yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, the Kings got Alan Whitehurst, you got Brian Freeman, Joe Brake didn't die, so that's a good thing. I think you have a few good years left. Well, not left, but you bought yourself a few good years, depending on what the other guys do. I mean, the biggest thing, though, that you did, you got Aubin Buteau back. How could you argue with Aubin Buteau?
Sure.
I could probably argue with that, but I'll wait till you're done before I...
Well, go ahead then.
He's not very good anymore.
I know.
Okay.
But don't tell him he's going to get his feelings hurt by that.
He's very sensitive. He's French, so...
Yeah. He's going to sing and play his accordion. But yeah, Freeman, 11 boards and 17 points a game. I think him and Whitehurst are really going to help out.
All right, Doug, what do you have to say?
I feel like I would have locked this up had I only signed Al Horford. So
hot commodity, Al Horford.
Right, exactly. I mean, I think obviously a lot of great answers were chosen. I mean, the Pacers, when you think about ways you can improve during the offseason, right? I mean, you got trades, you got drafts, you got free agency, and I mean, he traded for Luis Montanez. I don't know what idiot GM did that trade, but that was
I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was JB, but I mean, it was an amazing trade and definitely put him in position. But if I have to pick a team, I think the Lakers had an extremely impressive offseason. I mean, I think they made some tough choices and they definitely struck gold with a number of them. For example, keeping Dick Marcus, having the conviction to sign him to, I think, a pretty reasonable deal now, especially since he started to improve in defense, I think is going to be a good foundation. All of his draft picks worked out really well. I'm not going to say any of their names, but that center is great. Kevin Land, whose name I can't say, he developed very well. He traded for Yoder. I thought that was a great way to make sure that they have some winning culture. And Perkins, who I think people definitely laughed at a little bit, but has really turned into a viable starter immediately. And it's concerning that he's under Kevin Bowman right now on the league side, but I think eventually he should be able to leapfrog that. And if not, Karachi should definitely trade Kevin Bowman so no one thinks that he's worse than Kevin Bowman. But, I mean, I think that would be my answer. The Lakers, I think, had a very good offseason, very balanced, and I think put them on the right path. And if Karachi keeps this up, I can see him getting back into the top 5 of those ridiculous GM rankings very soon.
How dare you?
Did I take enough shots at everyone yet? So,
Tyler, do you have any follow-ups of what they had to say?
I definitely agree with Doug about the Lakers. I think that the Yoder trade was a great move. And like you said, their draft picks, other than someone like, I don't think Kevin Nutter looks too great, but other than that, I think the rest of them look very good. And the Pacers, it's hard to argue with, even though I absolutely despise and hate Bart Roser. I think if you can add like a 30-point per game scorer to go along with that lineup, you probably have to, because they didn't have any scoring coming from any other place, really. And then with the Kings, obviously I'm awesome, so whatever.
And Hajj, I'll give you the last word on this. What do you have to say?
I mean, I could certainly see the arguments for all the teams. Dallas, I think was also a very good choice because I feel like removing Roser, a lot of people will see it as a down move, but it might be better because it lets Bauer take more shots, which is what he really needs to be taking the most shots. And it also improves their defense. Well, I don't know if it improves their defense, but Singley's obviously a very good defender, and I think his handling is also a lot underrated. He's going to have very good handling, which will also help with Clay's drop in handling.
All right, good answers, everyone. The scoring on that question was Hajj 5, Thug 4, Tyler and Jerry 3. So
Boom.
Was it because I took so long to answer?
I don't want to get into that right now. I have my reasons, but we'll
get
talk
into
after.
it, but that's exactly why.
Anyway,
The classic Chris answer, because.
Yeah, just because I said so. My league, fuck you.
That sounds good to me. Okay. Question 3, and this is Hajj going first.
Yes.
Who are your top 3 MVP candidates going into the season?
Okay, this was actually not as hard as I thought it would be, at least for the first 2 people. Number 1 for me was Scott Duncan. If he stays healthy, there's just nobody that can do what he does. He gets 30 points a game, gets 8 or 9 assists. You're almost averaging a triple-double. He shoots pretty efficiently too, considering the obviously high volume of shots he takes. So he's obviously going to be a favorite. The next favorite for me is David O'Neal. He played incredible last year. The fact that they didn't have Kendall Marshall for, half the year. He's an amazing passer, 11.1 assists a game to 1.5 turnovers with 21 points a game. He could score easily. He could score more than that if he had to, which he did at various points last year. I think he's probably the best point guard in the league as a pure point guard. Obviously, Duncan's a different sort of a beast altogether. And for my third candidate, I went with my sleeper pick. I went with Steven Marino because, one, EBL loves point guards, and which is a big factor, obviously, in that. But I feel like Marino, every year he's gotten better, and this is obviously his best supporting cast he's had around him on the Hornets. I feel like the Hornets are going to have a very strong season. And I believe that the game does favor teams that have a good record. It favors point guards. Marino's a very good point guard. Every year he seems to go up in scoring, pass, assists, efficiency. His turnovers go down. And I feel like I wouldn't say he's a favorite, but I'd say he's definitely a sleeper, and he'd probably be my third choice around with, I'm not going to say anybody else because I don't want to start just naming names and ruining it for everybody else that picks candidates, but those would be my 3.
All right, Jerry?
I think that David O'Neal is going to be the number 1 option for me. He was last year's MVP. He was last year's playoff MVP on the best team in the league, and I think as the Thunder, I think, are going to be the best team in the league again. I think he's going to win it again. I don't think you can argue with that. Even if he goes down to 10.5 assists and goes up to 2 turnovers a game, I think he's still going to win the. If not win it, I think he's going to come close. He still has really good percentages, 462. Not 3-point, but still regular. Whatever they're called, field goal percentages. I think he's good there. And you kind of took one of my sleepers. I think Steven Marino's my second choice for MVP because 2010 in his third year, I think that's great. 456 field goal percentage and 425 3-point percentage. Plus, Hornets are going to be a pretty good team this year, and it's the only guy on this list, or at least that I have on my list, that made the all-defensive team. So that's definitely going to help score him some points on the MVP front, I think. Finally, I think Scott Duncan's going to be up there. I would have had him higher, but 3.5 turnovers a game isn't really great. Really great percentages, though. 501 and 412. 28.3 points per game and 9 and 9 for rebounds and assists. That's pretty crazy, but I'm still not super hyped about what his defense is. So my top 3 are O'Neal, Marino, and Duncan.
All right, Doug, what do you have to say?
All right. I think the obvious choice to start off at number 1 would be last year's reigning MVP. And once I asked Mofo who that was and figured that out, it was it's David O'Neal. And I think you got to be impressed with what he did. His handling keeps going up and up. I think he cracked 10 assists for one of the first time. Oh no, he's always had 10 assists. But cracked 11. That's right. Oh, he had that too. Anyway, he had the turnovers down to 1.5, and that's really, one of the things I think the game really values for everyone picking Scott Duncan. I mean, when are people going to realize that this game hates Scott Duncan? He could literally average 40, 20, and 20, and he wouldn't even crack like the top 3 EBL team. I think he's had ridiculous seasons, and I think the turnovers just kill him every time. So I do not see him as really like an MVP candidate unless he somehow manages to turn around this year with the turnovers. My second choice, I think, is going to be Josh Grundy, another former MVP who I think was kind of hurt last year. I think if the Raptors have a good season, I know they're cleaning house, but he himself has proven that he can really keep that team afloat. I think Mofo's name really shows that to a certain extent. So I mean, Josh Grundy would be number 2, and then number 3, I also kind of have a out of left field choice, and that's Henry Moore. I think Henry Moore is going to be an amazing player this year for the Knicks. He's always had a lot of scores around him, but I think this year, the fact that their front court is so terrible, I think he's going to have to step up in the shooting department, and he's shown that he has the ability to be very efficient from there. His turnovers have always been low. His assists, I think he had, again, over 11 last year, and that seems to be what the game really values. So I think that would be my top 3, the reigning MVP O'Neal, and then Josh Grundy, another former MVP, and I'm going to add Henry Moore to that list. Exactly.
All right, Tyler?
I'm going to start off a lot differently than what everyone else did and say my pick is David O'Neal.
Bold pick.
There's not much else that can really be said about him, which is the disadvantage of when it comes to going last. He's got the great defense. His turnover to assist ratio is just incredible and one of the most silly things I've seen in this game. It was like 11 to 1.5 last year? That's stupid.
Yeah.
That is just stupid. And he's doing it with great talent around him. He's going to be doing it probably the best team in the West. His scoring is going to be right up there to keep him in contention. He's going to be at least a top 3 candidate, barring injuries. But for my number 2 pick, I'm going to go somewhat out of left field. I'm going to pick Eric Bauer. I think eventually someone else has got to win that's not a point guard, other than like Pierre and the few who have done it besides a point guard. And I'm going to go with Eric Bauer on this one. I think the Mavericks are going to have a huge season this year. And I think with Lorenzo Clay's decline in handling, while Thug pointed out earlier, shouldn't be a death sentence, I think that is going to stunt his assists per game a little bit. And I think Eric Bauer is going to pick up the slack on that. And with a higher assists per game ratio, I mean, he was already at 5 last year. If he breaks into 5.5, even 6 at the small forward shooting guard position, he's gonna crack a MVP list. And I think with the Mavericks' success plus his all around play and just the talent he has around him, I think this is gonna be a great year for Eric Bauer, and I think he should definitely be able to crack this list. And I think for my third, I was debating this pretty heavily, but I'm also gonna go with Henry Moore of the Knicks. I mean, he really impressed me last year, just considerably. Really impressed me. I mean, consider that 2 seasons ago when he was on the Suns, he shot 44% from the field, and last year he jumped that up to 46.5, and his assists per game were 2 assists higher now that he actually had some talent around him. His steals are high, his turnovers are low, his points per game are right up there where it needs to be. I think that Henry Moore, I think if David O'Neal wouldn't have had such a great season last year, that we could have seen Henry Moore win MVP last season. So I'm going to pick Henry Moore as my third, and I also want to point out someone that I noticeably left off this list is Rodney Purvis. And I want to point out that the only reason I left him off this list is right now the GM is a CPU GM, and if the CPU GM stays there for a while, that could really hurt his chances. And even if a new GM takes over, I don't know what they're going to do with the team, how they're going to set the depth chart. So that's why I elected to leave Rodney Purvis off this list. So I could definitely see him being a candidate if things play out right for him next year.
Hajj, Thug completely dismissed your number 1 choice in Scott Duncan. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I mean, first of all, the game doesn't hate Scott Duncan. He was an all-league first-team player, like in 2028, I believe it was. I just checked it because I just hate Thug and I want to win an argument. So, but in 2028, he was the all-league first-team point guard. So, I mean, the game can acknowledge the fact that he can be an MVP, and he put up numbers that were actually worse than last year. That year, not much worse, obviously, but. I mean, he had 27, 8, 9, and last year he had 28, 9, 9 with the same number of turnovers. So I think if he wouldn't have been hurt, he could have won the MVP last year. Well, I don't know if he would have been able to sustain those numbers the whole year, but and he was an all-league third-team player in 2029. So I don't think the game hates him enough to use that as a reason to dismiss him from being an MVP contender.
The game clearly hates him. They look at the contract he signed. Instead of asking for a max, they decided that he just wanted like $2. So,
well,
the game clearly hates him.
All right, so that's okay. That's the end of that question. The scoring goes: Hajj 5, Jerry 5, Thug 4, and Tyler 3.
Oh,
that one. So,
wait, what was
pretty
it?
competitive so far.
Hajj
5, Jerry 5, Thug 4, Tyler 3.
I hope someone else is doing the math.
Hey, I'll try that. I have a calculator.
Don't worry, JB's here too, so
True.
I hope he's been paying attention.
It'd be nice if someone kept track of it because it's tough. All right, question 4. This goes to Jerry first. You might want to look at my article I wrote because I updated the backup site. I probably shouldn't have, but what team will see the biggest benefit from training camp this season? This could be in any benefit. What do you think, Jerry?
Right, well, to me, it kind of depends on relative to where you were before. Like, a team like the Knicks or the Hornets, who were already really good before training camp, they're not going to be as high on this list as a team like the Sixers, who are my choice. Sixers were on the outside looking in last year, and I think with the TC that they had this year, I think they're going to be really much improved. I think they're going to be a really good playoff team. They might even win a round, so I think the Sixers are going to be pretty high up there. They didn't really go down too much, I don't think. And a lot of players went up in good areas, so it's got to be the Sixers for me.
All right, Doug.
Yeah, I mean, I think I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but if you're asking me who had a TC that really made the difference, I think it's got to be the Indiana Pacers. I mean, they'd made so many trades, and I think that, especially that Montanez trade, just boosted them into the conversation. I don't think anyone would have. I mean, they would have been, 4 or 5 seeds, something like that. But if he plays up to the way he does, I think the Pacers are going to be number 1 or number 2 in the East. And also just, I mean, I'm going to quote Mofo's article here, but look at this. I mean, Rodgers continued to go up. I mean, and Rozier, who I thought was basically dead in the water, he either he went up or he stayed put. So I think this team, the stars that they did trade for, the people they did get, stayed no worse than they were. Montanez had a huge boost. Rodgers continued to go up. This is a team that, because of this TC, really is now a contender where they would have been just in the conversation before. So I think the Pacers definitely would be, for me, had the best TC.
All right, Tyler.
This one was tough for me. The Pacers were the obvious answer.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine, Thug. I'll just take everything from me. It's cool. But I think for me, the best positive TC has to be for the New Orleans Hornets. I understand what the other panelists were saying about position of where they were to how great they can be. The TC matters, but I think New Orleans was kind of in this dead spot where they were good, but they were not elite. But I think this TC really helped push them over the edge into being elite. I mean, Brad Key looks like what JB had thought he was all this time ago. Is basically the only way I know how to phrase this. Is that Brad Key looks like an elite level player now. And I don't know when this happened. I mean, I guess it happened this TC, but he looks absolutely incredible now. And Steven Marino still looks great. Rob Andrew didn't die. I was kind of expecting a huge hit from Rob Andrew. I'm not sure why, but that didn't happen, so that's always impressive. And then Willie McVicker and John Higgins and Chris Brown. I mean, I think with the talent on this team, the New Orleans Hornets could really be the top level team here in EBL in maybe this season, but at least a season or two. I think Devonta has just done an absolutely incredible, great job of putting this team together with the pieces that he has. And I think that this TC, especially mainly with the lift up of Brad Key, I think they really needed that out of Key to get this team to where it needs to be. But I think that individually really, really helped.
All right, Hajj, to finish it up.
All right. I'm going to go for a bit of a trickier sort of an answer. I'm going to pick the Atlanta Hawks. Rob Fern's TC, I really don't think he could be underrated. He jumped up in defense and offense and rebounding. Also add in the fact that Rodney Purvis and Cool didn't change at all. And, I mean, that's a very, very good trio of players right there. And without WC there to ruin it by playing PJC, if those three guys actually started our go-to guys, I think the regular season success of the Hawks, I mean, last year they were the 7th seed without having Rob Fern playing the whole year when he should have been. And I think when you add in that player, if the new GM is smart and he plays the right lineup, even with the guys he has, even if he can add, a little bit more depth, obviously is an issue with this team. But I feel like Purvis played so good last year with playing a completely out of position PJC, who is still good as a backup. And I think if he stays as a backup, I mean, that will cover, shooting guard pretty much only. But, if you add Vince Stauffer, he's also an underrated backup that always outperforms his ratings. And I feel like the Hawks they'll improve a lot from last year based on that one guy. And also the TC part of not having WC as their GM will help them a lot in improving.
Wow. Poor WC, even when he's not here.
They had a great playoff run, but I just feel like they'll be better if with a GM that will play the right players.
Wow.
So, Jerry, I'll give you the last word on this. Do you have any follow-up on what anyone said?
I forgot who the previous Hawks GM was, so not really.
Fair enough. All right. The scoring for question 4 was Thug 4, Tyler 4, Hajj and Jerry 3.
Nice.
So
I'm
got
not
one
doing
question.
very well.
It's all right. There's
Baby
plenty
steps.
of time.
There's one question left, so it's not really plenty.
But
there's no elimination.
Another section before the cut.
That's true.
So this is the last question on this section, and this we go back to Tyler. Thug. Yeah, we go back to Thug. And this is having to do with the rookies in EBL this year. Who will be the most impactful rookies in EBL this season? Thug?
Right. So when you gave us this question, Chris, you said that it's not just number-wise. So I thought about what is going to be their impact on a potentially good team. And then I looked at the first round, especially the lottery, and it seems like every single player picked went to a terrible team. So it's very tough to look at that. I mean, guys like Nishida on the Suns I think is going to have an amazing year, but I think that takes them from 20 to 22 wins, unfortunately, or something like that. So I mean, but if I had to pick a player that is going to have some kind of an impact, I would come to 2 names. I think number 1, I don't want to be a homer here, but I think Tigran Kalinin out of some former USSR country.
I think.
Sorry, yeah, out of some exotic land. I think he's definitely going to be the player to watch, at least for me, because if he does well, I could definitely see myself making some more moves and trying to even win a little bit this year. But he really is. He had a great TC, went up in rebounding, and starting to look a lot closer to the Nerlens Noel's clone that I think we all, or at least I definitely hope that he will be. So I'm going to look for him to see if he can get, can he do a double-double? Can he get 2 or 3 blocks a game? And I have some confidence that he can, but we'll definitely see. And then the second name on a potentially good team would be, I think the Knicks. Everyone doubted Polo when he drafted Billy Davis, but he had a great TC, and even to the point where I think Polo was even thinking about trading Henry Moore and seeing what kind of value he get. I wouldn't advise against it, but what do I know? Nothing compared to Polo, obviously. So I mean, I think the Knicks and Billy Davis is definitely a good person to look for. He seems to be already there in terms of the key things to look for. He had a really good TC. He fits that outside offense very well. So I think he's someone who could potentially get them 15 to 20 really good minutes off the bench, especially if they decide to trade Henry Moore. So those are the 2 names I would pick.
All right, Tyler, right? Yeah, Tyler.
I'm going to go with the Lakers draft picks this year because I think the Lakers could be a sleeper team for a playoff push this season if Karachi maybe makes one or two moves with some of the firsts that he has this year. I think that, as Doug alluded to earlier, he did an incredible job drafting this year, and Karachi has always been known for being a decent to great drafter. I can't remember. I mean, there have been a few times where I've kind of questioned it a little bit, but other times it really works out. Even with someone like Dick Marcus, who I never thought that he would ever pan out, and I criticized Karachi numerous times for it. Now Marcus actually looks pretty good, and I look like an idiot. So I think with Ron Reckup and Kevin Land, and then you've got Aaron Perkins. I'm not sure if Aaron Perkins will start, but I bet he could move Van Sip for some more pieces and maybe start Perkins. And then he did a good job of getting Yoder. You've still got Dick Marcus there. I really think the Lakers, the way they're built, I mean, obviously it's tough to tell with rookies because you never know. Not only do you have to determine whether they're going to pan out or not, you have to determine whether their ratings are actually going to match their level of play. So any of these could be long shots or sleepers, but I think that if the Lakers rookies play the way that they look, I think this team could eventually make a push this season for a surprise playoff spot, which going from the bottom of the West last season, that even if they made it to like the 10th or the 9th seed, I think that would be a huge win for the Lakers this year and really help their playoff push. And I think that there'll be some good teams down the stretch that'll maybe knock some other teams out of the playoffs. I think the Lakers will be a team to watch out for this year, whether they make it in the playoffs or not. And I definitely like the job that Karachi's doing.
All right, Hajj.
All right. I'm going to go with the not-so-original pick and pick Ishmael Russell. Obviously, the Clippers had a great playoff run last year, but they were also just depleted with injuries. Russell is really, there's many ways you can go. You can use him as a bench piece with his handling at SF, small forward, shooting guard, or point guard if you want to keep using Lance Burton for whatever reason you might want to do that. You could also start him at small forward. I feel like Tony Ross would probably be fine at shooting guard or small forward. I feel like Russell adds a lot of depth. He's a good defender, a good handler. He can rebound good, which is something that Steven Bergman, despite being 6'10" and like 230 pounds, has proven he really can't bring as a backup. And I obviously, heading into the draft, most people seem to feel like Russell was the consensus number one pick. And I feel like the Clippers were good last year, but with Russell, this way, even if they get injuries, they'll have a better regular season, and that'll only make it easier for them in the playoffs to make another strong run in the postseason, which is obviously a huge impact for any team. The better regular season you can have, the easier it'll be for you when you get to the playoffs. And Russell makes his team a lot better, either as a depth player or as a starter.
All right, Jerry.
Well, the obvious answer is Jimmy Johns because, look at that. But what Doug said, there's not a lot of really great rookies that are going to really great teams, at least not ratings-wise, which is really the only way you can judge a rookie right now. But I think I'm going to have to homer this one out. I think Kenneth Nishida is going to be really good for the Suns, not the Knicks.
Unless you trade him there.
Yeah, once I trade him to the Knicks, he's going to be really great.
Great.
Like everyone.
I think the Suns are going to be not terrible this year. I think they're going to challenge for 10 or so, maybe 9 or 8. I don't know. But other than Nishida, I think Tigran is a good choice. I think Ishmael Russell is going to be a good choice, even though neither of them are even though Russell's not going to start, but probably not going to start at least. But I think Nishida is going to be number one, only because I'm being a homer.
That's a very good reason, actually.
Thug, do you have any follow-up to what these guys completely, basically ignoring, except for Jerry, ignoring your choice of Tigran?
I mean, I think Tigran is a good choice. I think a lot of these teams are a good choice. I think Nishida, now that I look at the Suns team, I mean, I think Andre Hood didn't do as well as Jerry probably wanted to, but I mean, there's no bigger Dale Smith fan in this entire league than I am. So if anyone could bring this team into the glory days, I think Dale Smith and the Suns could do it, and Nishida is definitely a big piece. So I actually kind of agree with Jerry now on Nishida.
Tyler, I'll give you the final word on this. entire segment. What do you have to say?
I kind of skipped over the Suns a little bit when I was looking at them, because no offense, Jerry, your team's kind of bottomed out the last few seasons. I didn't realize you've done a pretty good job building this team up. Nishida, I mean, obviously with centers, like I said earlier, you never know how they're going to play. He could be another anti, but if we're, we only have what he looks like to base it off of. He looks like he can be a star, and him and Hood back there together, and with Gerald Dunn, Saul Sandin, who, kind of reminds me of Buteau, so I like him a lot. And then, the small forward's a little bit up in the air with Nunnally and whatever, but, I kind of agree with Jerry and Thug now. So just take that for what it is.
All right, I will take that for what it is. And scoring for that question goes Hajj with 5, Thug, Tyler, and Jerry all with 4.
Cool.
And I believe this math is correct, but overall after round 1 we have a tie for first with Thug and Hajj at 22, Tyler at 19, and Jerry at 18.
All right.
It's a barn burner.
Let me double check that math real quick.
All right, please do. Please triple check it.
Yeah. Make sure you add a couple points to me if you can.
Make sure you're carrying the whatever.
Carrying the 7.
Yes, that's important.
I'm pretty sure I'm right, but let's see.
I'm going to add some Jeopardy music into this. You're so off key.
You gotta go up high for that.
The scoring is exactly right. Okay, scoring is good. So
okay, yes, the scores.
No podcast is complete.
I was told there'd be a mute button for this.
Where's the gong?
Nice.
Why can I not mute Hodge?
All right, so those familiar with Around the Horn know this next section, and this is a very quick segment because, it's buy or sell. You either
buy or sell.
Buy what I say, or you resell it. You don't agree with it. It's basically you agree or don't agree. So each of you have 20 to 25 seconds to answer. That's the maximum you get. So you can answer quicker if you feel like you made your point. And there's 3 questions total in this segment, and the judging for this segment will go ability to stay within the time frame, logical argument, and a definitive answer. So keep that in mind as you debate. And I think now Tyler's up first for this one.
Probably.
It's going to be quick, so do not let this drag out. Anyway, question number 1: buy or sell Rodney Purvis as the best player in EBL at the age of 35? Tyler.
It's a sell. I think he's one of the best players. He's a top 5 for sure, but it's David O'Neal. David O'Neal, 11 assists per game last season, 1.5 turnovers. That's stupid numbers. On the best team in the West, title winner, playoff MVP, regular season MVP, all-league first team, great defender. What else more can you ask for?
All right. Who's next? Hajj? Yes, Hajj.
Sell. It's not even close. I would take David O'Neal also without a second thought. Even Scott Duncan is better than Rodney Purvis. Steve Marino, Henry Moore. These are all guys that I would think would probably push ahead of Purvis for MVP contention.
Jerry?
Yeah, sell me some Purvis as well. I gotta have O'Neal. I gotta have Marino, and I think Marino is going to be a little ahead of Purvis and O'Neal actually. Despite what I said on the MVP, but it's a sell.
Thug?
Look at the grammar, guys. The way that's phrased, as the best player at the age of 35. He's obviously the best player in the EBL at the age of 35. Bye, Rodney Purvis.
It's the best player in the EBL at the age of...
It's saying sell him as the best player currently.
I'd buy him at the age of 35. Bye.
I'd rather buy him at 30, but okay.
You could probably get him in a trade with the CPU if you want. So.
Yeah.
All right, so the scoring for that question goes Tyler 5, Hajj 4, Jerry and Thug 3.
Boom.
Oh.
You bought too hard.
Okay, so question 2. Orlando's days of buy or sell. Orlando's days of contending with Pierre Lewis being over. Hajj?
Sell. I don't think it's nearly as bad as it seems in Orlando. They still have great players around him in Beck and Allen West. You could easily move Allen West to fill other holes or Beck and replace those pieces. This isn't like some hopeless team where Pierre Lewis is there and he's surrounded by the Boston Celtics. This is a team that can easily be turned around with 1 or 2 moves, and MC is a very capable GM who can do that.
All right, Jerry?
Right, I'm selling. With what they have now, though, they have 1 year of contending, maybe 2 if the supporting cast cooperates, but after that they're going to be done, even though I think MSC is a really good GM, so I'm going to sell.
All right, Doug?
I'm buying their contending days of being over. They should never have traded Dale Smith. Eric Beck is good, but, look at their front court. They brought in some bench guy from the Jazz to take over in the center. If you trade Allen West for more parts, you have a big hole at small forward. I don't like this team at all right now. Buy them as they're over.
And Tyler?
I'm buying it's over too. MSC is panicking, and even if it's not done, a panic move will always get it done. This team is not that great anymore, and MSC's best option of filling his center hole was Chris Shores on the Jazz. Anytime you're relying on Chris Shores to plug a hole for you, it's not going well in Orlando. I'm buying it's over for them.
All right, those are all pretty good answers, but the scoring for that question goes Thug 5 and the rest of you 4.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, now this is the final question. Let me do some math here to figure out who's okay, so
This could take a while, folks. So, I won't do any
Okay.
Jeopardy music
I'll
this
save
time.
I'll save
How
you some
dare you.
time. I'm behind.
it's close though, I think.
I'm somewhere between first and fourth, I think.
Thug is at 30. Hajj is at 30.
Oh.
Wait, are you using an actual calculator?
No, I'm adding in my head.
That's even worse than this.
No, I just meant
I-
like not even on your computer, like an actual physical calculator.
No, are you kidding me? I don't even have one.
He's got like a notepad.
That's evident.
There's Venn diagrams there.
He's
An
using,
abacus.
he's using M&Ms. He's counting M&Ms.
He's using an abacus, like ball.
Hey, I'm allergic to chocolate. I can't eat M&Ms. Come on, man.
So it's definitely
okay,
an abacus. Is
so-
the thing.
So the scoring right now is Thug and Hajj at 30, Tyler at 28, and Jerry at 25. So the pressure's on Jerry here.
All right.
This is the final question before I cut. So, and I think Jerry goes first, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. So okay.
It's time to kill the other 3 people.
So Elon Trigvason as buy or
You can't
sell.
even pronounce his name.
Elon Trigvason as the best big man in EBL today. Jerry, buy or sell?
It's gotta be a sell for me. I mean, it's either him or Francisco Page, but for now, I think Page has them. It's really close, but I think the free throws and the rebounding advantage that Page has over Elon, I think it outweighs the slightly larger turnovers game for in favor of Page. So I'm selling.
All right, Thug.
No.
Absolutely buy. He was all-league first team last year. 21 points, 12 rebounds, 4 blocks. I think those numbers speak for themselves. Buy.
All right, Tyler.
Also buying, he's one of the best defensive centers in the game right now, and every team he goes to, their defense becomes one of the top in the league. You look at what he did in Detroit, what he's doing in Indiana, everywhere he goes, it's a defensive masterpiece. Elon is by far the best center in the league right now. I'm buying all day.
Okay, Hajj.
I'm gonna have to sell. I mean, I know Kenneth Marshall had a bad TC, but I still can't say with certainty that Elon is any better. They had almost identical stats last year. If Marshall wasn't hurt, he could have had all of those first team, first whatever awards. And to me, to say you're the best player, it's got to be like a not even thinking about it. And I had to think about it, so that's why I'm selling.
All right, so the scoring for that question is you all get 4s, which means that unfortunately we have to say goodbye to Jerry for this.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Not Jim the Anvil.
Yes. Jerry, do you have any last words about your performance or anything about this podcast?
No.
Insightful to the very end.
Hey, never mind. Jerry gets to stay around. Tyler, you're gone now.
Oh, whoa, bro.
No, just kidding. Sorry, Jerry, but you are now eliminated.
All right, have fun, everyone else.
Yeah.
Thank you for participating. Really appreciate
No problem.
it.
I have to stick
Okay.
around. I have
This
to
is an
stick
arresting
around with
experience.
Thug and Hajj. I'm not sure how much fun I'm gonna have, but
Oh, it'll be tons of fun.
Okay, so this is a one question category, but it's a big one. It's very important. This
Out
could
of
be worth a lot.
bounds.
Yeah, it's out of bounds. This could be worth a lot of points potentially if you answer how I want you to answer. Basically,
How do you want us to answer?
yeah.
You pick all the Bucks' best players of all time and make a team.
not if you do that, you will get 0 points.
All right, that's good because I almost picked none of them. So
All right, so this is the points will be rewarded on this section of out of bounds with creativeness, outside the box thinking, and accuracy. So the question is, and I think who goes first? Is it Thug again? Yeah,
I
it's
believe
Thug.
it's Doug. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Okay,
All right.
so if you could put together an all-time EBL starting lineup, who would it consist of, Doug?
Right. So, I mean, I think first we have to discuss what you want out of all the positions, and I really think that if you're building this team, it's it's very easy to say, all right, I'm just going to put 5, 20, 10 guys in every at every slot, but I think a good, well-balanced team is going to have your defensive anchors and the people who can handle the scoring. So, from a point guard perspective, I think there's no better point guard to lead any team than Nanad. He gets assists, he gets steals, he's a great defender. He will make sure that my all-star team will definitely get the ball rolling, and also, he's going to be there to lock up the defensive pressure at the point guard. Shooting guard, it was really tough to pick a toss-up between. I thought about Tyreek Evans and I thought about Pierre, but ultimately I think Tyreek Evans, again, because of his A-plus defensive shooting guard and the fact that he can score in buckets, and he's a proven winner on multiple teams. So I think Pierre Lewis would be my pick at shooting guard. Small forward, I have to say LeBron James. It's easy to dismiss him because his son is so terrible. But
He is really terrible.
But LeBron James, I think people should know what he did. He's the only reason RDT had any success in this league whatsoever.
Agreed.
And also me too, I guess, to a certain extent. But LeBron James, I definitely think it gets the small forward, his more natural spot there. Power forward and center. I mean, power forward, I think Anthony Davis has to be my pick. He's one of the few players that I have only had limited time with. I've always tried to trade for him, but I was happy to get him near the end of his career. But he was still effective. But at his peak, I don't think you could find a better all-around power forward. And again, a proven winner who really just led with his defense, but he could score too. I mean, I think at his highlight, obviously I don't have the historical files to back it up, but I think he was, in the mid-teens, so he could definitely get you some points there. And then from the center perspective, I mean, Dwight Howard and Hassan Whiteside, I'm going to again go with Whiteside. I think the center and power forward, you lock down the paint. Whiteside, there's no better big man in EBL history that could block, protect the paint. He could rebound the hell out of the ball. And with those two guys manning the paint, Nanad patrolling the perimeters, and then Pierre and LeBron, probably the two best all-around guys in EBL history. I don't think even Polo's teams cannot beat this All-Star team.
All right, so who's next? Tyler, right? Yeah. Tyler.
When I thought about this question, I decided that with if you're building an all-star team like this, a Hall of Fame team, I want guys who are proven winners. I want guys who have won titles, who have been there before, and have gotten the job done on their team. So starting at the point guard position, I went with Kyrie Irving as my pick for point guard. When you talk about success in this league, winning championships, Kyrie is the first person that comes to mind for me. He's a 4-time title winner, 2-time playoff MVP award winner. His defense, when he was at his prime, his defense was up there with Nenad's level. I mean, he was a tremendous defender. He was always a good distributor, didn't have too many turnovers per game, and his points were right around the above average level where I would want my point guard to be if they were dishing it off to my shooting guard and my small forward. Segue to that, I think for my shooting guard, I would have to go with Russell Westbrook as my shooting guard. And I know he had most of his success at point guard, but with Westbrook, I think it really takes away some of the pressure of distribution and defense, because Westbrook at his prime was a great defender, and I think a lot of people forget about that because towards the end of his career he started to fall off a little bit. Those Hawks teams, they really started to slip and fall some, but Westbrook was really great at his time as shooting guard, a great defender. He won 3 titles as a member of the Lakers and the Thunder, and I think most, if not all, of the titles he won were as shooting guard. I'm not sure about the Thunder, but I know the 2 with the Lakers were. And so when I think about proven winners at shooting guard, I want someone like Russell Westbrook there. Now, neither one of those were really explosive scorers. Westbrook can score greatly, but he was always best as a number 2 behind someone. So when I think of the small forward that I want, it's obviously going to be LeBron James, and I think that there's no other choice for a small forward. He won the title 3 times. He was a playoff MVP all 3 of those years. He's a 2-time regular season MVP award winner, and he does it all. He's a great scorer. He's a great rebounder. He can assist. He can steal. He can block. His defense at small forward was above pretty much everyone else in the league at that point. And I really think LeBron really just got the job done. Like Thug said, It's the only reason that RDT had any success, and then he won his first title in 2011, then won again in 2015, and won again in 2017. So he really was durable throughout the majority of his career, and he did a lot of great things in EBL. Now, with the small forward, shooting guard, and point guard, most of the offense has been kind of figured out. So I want someone who can really hold it down at power forward, someone who can just get the rebounds, get the blocks, and be a big defensive presence. So I want to go with Nerlens Knowles, a recent retiree. I thought about going with an active player for power forward, but I decided I really wanted Knowles in there because he's one of my favorite power forwards in EBL history. He was Defensive Player of the Year numerous times. He won 3 titles as a power forward center, and I think he was really underappreciated as one of the biggest pieces of those Nuggets teams. I think without Knowles, that defense would have been a little bit shaky, but him and Pierre together, obviously, really held it down. And Knowles is someone that I always wanted to have around when I was trying to. One of the few players I never got a chance to trade for, but I've always really loved Knowles. And then for center, I do want to go with a current player. I want to go with Kenneth Marshall. I think someone like Whiteside or Dwight Howard or someone like that, really great, obviously proven winners there. But with Kenneth Marshall, you're getting probably one of the best defenders in EBL history. He is always at or around 4 blocks per game. He hasn't had a year yet since his 3rd season in the league where he's averaged less than 12 rebounds per game, and he's normally in the 13 range. He's just tremendous. He can do it all, and his offense isn't lacking for someone who's such a good defender and rebounder as Marshall is. He can get the job done offensively too when he's not stuck in an outside offense. And I think having that versatility and having someone like him that can do pretty much whatever you need him to, I think that would really help. And I think Kyrie and Westbrook and LeBron and Knowles and Marshall would all work really well together because they're all good defenders individually on their own, and they can all kind of hold their own points, but there's only one or two, there's only the 1 or 2 guys that are really going to break out and score over 20 a game, and I think that's important when building a team like that.
That was the longest I've ever heard someone talk without like a pause.
A breath, yeah.
Yeah, that was impressive though.
You said you wanted it to be in detail and long.
I didn't say it was bad.
All right. Obviously, by now, most people know how I like to build teams, and that's with good scoring on the outside. So for my point guard, I'm going to take my favorite point guard ever in EBL, Brandon Jennings. When he was at his absolute peak, I don't think anyone ever played as good as he did. He could score like at will. He had tons of assists, low turnovers, great defense. I mean, I think personally, maybe I'm like the only one that thinks this, but I think he was probably the best point guard in EBL when he was at his best. There was nobody that played better. Next to him, I'm going to take the unoriginal pick of Pierre Lewis. Obviously, he's a great defender. He's been an A+ or close to it defender his whole career. He can score in high volume, and that's what I want out of my shooting guard position. At the small forward, I'm going to pick LeBron, and I know it seems like a lot of scoring between the 3 of them, but I remember LeBron on some teams where they'd have other high volume scorers, and he would be, I don't know if it's programmed into the game or whatever, but he would go back and just rebound more or assist more and let those guys get their shots. But if he has to, he's a guy that can give you the 30 or 40 or whatever amount of points you need a game. So that's obviously 3 scorers, which covers the scoring pretty well with whatever bench guys I have. I picked Tyreke Evans to be my backup, just so you know, since he was the only guy that was an elite player at small forward, shooting guard, and point guard. But that's irrelevant to this. At power forward, I take Anthony Davis. He's probably top 2 or 3 best defensive players ever at the power forward spot. Also, he's not a complete liability on offense. He's smart enough to know how to shoot well. He shot pretty efficiently, which is all I need with his blocking and rebounding that he's going to bring. And then at center, I was torn between 2 guys, but Tyler actually convinced me to change from Whiteside, and I'm going to pick Kenneth Marshall, who's also can score, but usually he doesn't have to. And earlier in his career, especially on his time with Minnesota, he was a great rebounder. He's probably the best defensive center ever. So if you put him and Davis, I mean, there's no, I mean, that's just unstoppable almost in the paint. And I feel like like that brings the scoring where I like it from the small forward, shooting guard, and point guard. The defense is good all around. Jennings was a very good passer. There's great handling, actually, even from LeBron, Jennings, and Pierre, and even Davis was a pretty decent handler for a power forward, and I really value handling. You get great rebounding from Pierre, LeBron, Davis, and Marshall, four very good rebounders from their positions, and I just feel like that's as good all-time lineup as you're going to get. Everyone meshes together. There's not going to be like fighting for shots, and that's the only reason Derek Favors is in here, because I just love small forward, shooting guard, and point guard. So yeah.
All right, that was a lot of good arguments, but the scoring for this round puts us at Tyler at 7, Hajj at 6, and Thug at 5. So going into this fourth round, where another elimination will happen, the scoring is now Thug at 39, Hajj at 40, and Tyler at 39 also. So it's very, very tight.
So Hajj is leading at 40, and Thug and I are both at 39?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a barnstormer.
Also, I want to point out about the last question, I'm really disappointed in myself that I didn't take Pierre Lewis. I don't know how I forgot about
Westbrook's
him.
a really good pick, though.
Yeah,
you won this.
He's such a good complimentary guy to have that it makes sense to put him there. He's a good defender too.
Yeah.
So.
I don't want to chime in too much, but I'm not sure how well Pierre and LeBron would work together as a team, because they're like the exact same player.
That's true as well. But
anyway, now this is the lightning round. This is even quicker than buy or sell. This is only 2 questions, and like I said, the scoring is very close. 1 point separates all 3, and the points will be rewarded on speed, knowledge, quick thinking, and unique answers. So keep that in mind for these 2 questions. And you get no more than 15 to 20 seconds. If you go beyond that, I'll stop you, and I might penalize you in points. So, okay, question 1, and this is Tyler, correct?
Yep.
Yes. Question 1: Who is the most overrated player in EBL these days? Tyler?
I've got to go with Bart Roser. Pretty much every season he's on good teams, and none of them ever pan out. He's a glorified scorer who cannot handle his own defensively or in the playoffs. None of the teams he's ever on do anything in the postseason. He seems like another cancer. Bart Roser is someone I always want to stay away from.
Hajj?
I'm going to go with Salvatore Perozzi. I have no idea why this guy is still viewed as an elite player. He's a complete liability on defense when he plays at center. Last year, it seemed like he was turning around small forward, but the Heat completely crumbled at the end. He's never had good success in the regular season. The handful of times he's made the playoffs, they've done absolutely nothing. He's like worse than Page at this point.
Doug?
I have to go with Tassio Vega. Never liked the guy. He's not as efficient as you would expect someone with those ratings to be. Career 45% from the field, only less than 40% from threes, less than 75% from the free throw line, and just A+ defense. I haven't seen it in the box scores I've looked at.
Okay, that is we'll go with, for that question, Tyler 4, Thug 4, and Hajj 5. So that puts us updated scoring: Hajj 45, Tyler and Thug 43. So this question will decide who moves on between Thug and Tyler.
Oh boy.
So Hajj, unless Hajj completely blows it, completely blows it, he's going on to the finals.
Like if I talk for like 20 minutes?
Yes, if you do that.
Yeah.
That would blow it, yeah.
I'll keep that in mind.
And Hajj goes first here. And the question is, this is something to think about, so try to be quick, but what young player still on a rookie deal would you most want to have going forward?
Steven Marino. This is a PG-driven league. He's absolutely by far the best point guard on a rookie contract. He's proven what he can do since he's already had 3 years, which is something I can't say for some of the younger point guards that might be contenders like Machado. And he just gets better every year. He keeps improving, and he's on a great team, and he's a great player to build around, obviously, just as Devontae.
Doug?
Philip Paulino, 26 points a game, 23 years old. Shoots amazing. He's no liability on defense. Gets about 2 steals a game. 2 more years on his contract. I think that's someone you build around.
Tyler?
I want a guy who keeps on improving every year. I'm going to take Vyacheslav Voronkov in Chicago. Every TC of his is absolutely huge. And he looks like the absolute game changer in EBL. He's close to having A- in every category besides rebounding. And if Raider guy would finally use him a little bit more correctly, I think this guy will take off and be an absolute star in this league for years and years to come.
All right, this is a tough decision, but the scoring on this question goes Hajj with 4. Hajj moves on to the finals.
Yay.
Doug with 5, and Tyler with 4, which means that unfortunately we have to cut Tyler out from the podcast. Tyler, you have any last words?
I understand.
I can hear Tyler.
I understand how Thug taking the absolute safest pick that you could do would get him to the next round, so that's perfect.
And
I thought I did that, actually.
I heard your sigh when I said Philip Paulino, so definitely you want to take that as well.
I knew whoever picked him would just get an automatic advance, so that's fine.
Really? I thought Marino was the best guy. He's a point guard. It's a point guard league.
Well,
I think
no one cares.
I think Thug argued it as what happened?
What?
Hello? I thought someone left. What? Okay, never mind.
I'm about
anyway.
Fuck this. No, I'm just kidding.
Anyway, so Tyler, you gotta mute your microphone or something.
I won't mute shit. I'm gonna sit here and chew on all podcast. So,
come on, man.
I thought Voronkov was a good pick though too. I didn't even think about him. He's like really.
I like the pick too. I'm gonna say that now that you're leaving. But.
Well, yeah. I just with Voronkov, I think he's gotten a kind of a shaky raw deal in Chicago. Hopefully, he's used correctly.
It's harder to notice him because he's been so horribly used.
Right.
No offense to
anyway, good luck to the rest of you two, and by the rest of you two, I mean Thug because fuck Hodge. So,
I love you too, buddy. I love you.
Enjoy the rest of the podcast.
Okay, so we are down to the final showdown. It is Thug versus Hajj.
Together at last.
This is the two, sometimes friends, sometimes enemies. I guess you can call them frenemies.
Please don't ever say that word.
Yeah, I believe. Now you're my frenemy now after saying that.
Sorry. All right, so the question, there's the best of 3, obviously, if you know how Around the Horn works, and you each get 30 seconds to answer. You can, once someone answers, the next person just jumps right into it. Don't even wait for me to talk, just jump right into it, and you could and I would advise you to argue the other side, because the points will be rewarded on arguing the other side shows in knowledge and sincereness. So you got to make me believe that you believe what you're saying. Like, you can't, if you agree with what the other person says, that's probably not going to help you. You got to argue the other side. Okay.
I've got every team page open.
I have one open because that's one I'm going to pick. So.
Hold on, give me 1 second. I'm recruiting a GM right now. I don't know if Tyler wants to edit this out, but
Tyler can't talk. He's been forbidden from speaking. Baldwin wants to chime in with some gum chewing, though. He's more than welcome to for this segment. We'll call it Chewing Gum with Baldwin.
Baldwin wants to hum the Fandango theme. I can hear it.
Oh, man. I'm not going to sing that. I think we've all had enough of me singing.
I think this is where Bauer leaves the podcast.
Oh, Bauer. What a douche.
All right, so
you can keep that in, just so you know.
All right, so question number 1, and I think we'll let the higher scoring person go first, which is Hajj.
Nice.
So points. Okay, I already said that. Okay, question number 1. Give me the team most likely to surprise everyone this season, either good or bad. Hajj, 30 seconds. Go.
The Boston Celtics. This team is far better than anyone expects of them. Obviously, when you think of a droppy team, you think this team's going to finish last place. They're going to be absolutely garbage, but they're not. Dave Machado had a huge TC. If he starts Eugene Doyle, moves Anthony Bennett to small forward, you get 3 go-to guys in Bennett, Mealy, Machado. You got good defense. Joe Monday's a good 6th man. This team could actually drag out of the bottom 5, and I'd be really surprised at that because it's Boston.
This team is awful. The Celtics are not going to surprise anyone. They have 2 good guys and a bunch of people who wouldn't even make my injury reserve.
They don't have 2 good guys. Felix Mealy, Anthony Bennett, and Dave Machado are all good. Oh.
You already had your talking moment. Doug, go ahead.
I think the team that's going to surprise everyone is, I alluded to this, I think the Magic are going to be a lot worse than people thought. Trading Dale Smith, I think, was a terrible idea. I don't think they have any depth at all. They're relying on some guy from Utah, like I said, and they just have no depth and no front court. The Magic are not going to be good this year.
I think you're underrating Pierre Lewis a lot. I mean, he's done a lot more on worse teams than this. Him, Allen West, and Beck is still a very good trio. The big men obviously aren't amazing, but, I mean, Charles Bond actually went up in TC, and he's always a pretty good rebounder. So if they maybe, they're going to get a lot more scoring from the outside. So with him and Regan, they should be able to clear the boards pretty good.
I can't believe I have to argue. I can't believe I have to argue this point. But look at the depth, Hodge. Look at the depth. If somebody actually gets hurt on this team, I don't even think they make the playoffs.
No, they have Bernard Kelly as an alright backup at the wings.
They traded Bacon. They traded anyone who could actually be a good backup at the wings. I don't think this team is any good.
All right, so that is question 1, and that one will go to Hajj. Hajj wins that one.
Yeah, because he interrupted me.
No, that is not why. But yeah, don't do that again.
Okay, I thought it was a banter sort of a thing. I didn't realize it was just crush your end.
That threw me off my game. I had an answer ready and I had to.
It's just you usually speak for 30 seconds. He speaks for 30 seconds, and whoever wins out of that. Okay. So Hajj is up. Hajj is up 1-0. And now question number 2. Thug gets to go first here. Which conference is stronger at this point, the East or the West? Thug?
It's got to be the West. That's where the champions came from last year, the Thunder. They have very good contenders. I think the Mavericks are going to give them run for their money. The Grizzlies are a solid team as well, and they have a bunch of other teams creeping in there. Like, for example, the Kings. I mean, that's 3 contenders I mentioned just out of the West. The East, I mean, they have a couple good teams, but look at the last 7 or 8. They're all awful, and as an average, I'd be shocked if the West don't win more games.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna have to disagree. I think the East is better. Obviously, it's not as deep as the West, but I think the top teams in the East are very, very capable of winning titles. If you look at the Pacers, they're probably a title favorite with the defense they have in the front court. And also the top teams in the West have either stayed the same or maybe gotten a little worse. We don't really know how much the TC affected Oklahoma City with Marshall and Sutherland, or adding Mars Johnson, who's I mean, we don't even know what he's going to be like after TC either. And there's no idea how the chemistry is going to work on a team like Dallas, who's probably another top contender in the West.
Yeah,
all right.
Go ahead.
All right, Thug wins that one.
Yeah, I know I had to argue the other point, so there was kind of like no hope for me on that one.
And plus, you basically argued why the West is weaker instead of like why the East is stronger. That wasn't the best.
I really didn't want to pick the East, so. Anyways.
All right, so now Hajj goes first here, and this is the final question. Whoever wins this gets to speak for 1 minute by themselves, whatever they want to talk about, with no interruptions, and they win the first ever Around the Horn podcast. So this is for all the marbles, and this is
a trophy for that too.
Maybe we'll think about that. Anyway, Hajj, go first. This is simply Pierre Lewis or LeBron James. Who would you rather have?
LeBron James. He's a better passer than Pierre ever was. If he would have played as many seasons as Pierre was, he probably would have had 6 or 7 titles by now. He was basically the same player as Pierre, but he was a far superior passer, and he could play more positions too. He's more versatile.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough to argue against LeBron, but I mean, Pierre Lewis, he's had the consistency. I don't think LeBron, waned in scoring in the last couple of years, and I think Pierre with his A-, and go all the way until the very end. I think he's a great defender, all defensive teams. I think he's a better defender than LeBron was, even when his passing wasn't as that good. So.
All right, so I am ready to declare a winner, and the winner of the first ever EBL Around the Horn podcast is Hajj.
Come on.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Thug, but yeah, that was a great effort. But
I mean, that's hard when you have to pick. When to argue against LeBron. I'm really glad I went first there.
You got the right to go first by having the most points. So
yeah, but it's hard when it's a.
It's only because Jay Rich Jr. wasn't one of the choices there.
Yeah, well, obviously.
Okay, now Hajj, you get 1 minute to speak, whatever you want to talk about, and it starts right now.
Okay, I have to say I'm really happy to see that we actually made it to 20 podcasts. Obviously, it's been more than a year when we started this. I'm really proud of me, like Chris and Tyler, and then other guys that came in like Jerry and Thug today, and even Magoo, who's passed on to another plane of existence. I mean, yeah, it's really great. I think it's really great for the community to have podcasts like this. It just really gives like more of an organic feel to the entire league. And and I think the league's just going really good. I mean, even after this many seasons, we've had like 21 seasons, and there's still surprises every year. And I think that's what really makes this league better than anyone else. It's what keeps people interested and want to come back, because you don't really know what's going to happen, and that's what makes it so exciting to see. And also, Tyler sucks because he said I sucked, and I'm saying that back to him. So there.
All right, that is the end right there. That is the end of the EBL first podcast. Thank you to Hajj, Jerry, and Thug and Tyler for participating, and hopefully
to Baldwin also for chewing his gum, which was a very
and for all those listening. So hopefully you enjoyed this podcast, and maybe we'll do it again sometime. We'll see. But thank you for participating, everyone. And
thank you, Mofo. Thank you for moderating.
Yes, you did a very good job.
That sounded
very patient with a lot of stupidities here.
All right, but anyway, thank you for listening, and that is all she wrote.
All right.
We're on a 98.5 hour break.
Okay. Yes.